Now, the last thing is all reptiles lay eggs. Some of them actually will have the eggs inside and they hatch inside the body, while most reptiles, they'll actually lay their eggs in the ground. Now, on this picture with the guy's hand, this is actually from a snake. And snakes, because they have no legs and they really don't like to dig with their face, they just lay their eggs under a bush or something to try to hide them. While turtles, which have the claws, can actually bury their eggs a little bit. But the really crazy thing is once they lay their eggs, they do nothing else. They don't actually raise their babies. The babies are on their own. So all of these things makes reptiles reptiles. And so now what we're going to do is I'm going to pass you off to Jennifer. Oops, sorry. And Jennifer is actually going to introduce us to one of our reptiles.
That's right. Thank you, Stacy. So really quick, I don't remember if we mentioned it or not, but we are recording this meeting just so everybody knows. And we'll put it on our YouTube channel, but it'll be only available to people with the link. So I'll email everybody who attended today, who signed up, so that you all get the recording in case you want to watch it again. But yes, so are you all ready to meet the first animal? Give me a big thumbs up if you're ready. Yeah, yeah, we're ready. Okay. All right. So the first animal I have is our ornate box turtle. And he is pretty small, you can see. So I'm going to try to hold him up so that you can all see him really well. And our ornate box turtle, it's actually really interesting. So we thought that he was a different species of turtle for a long time. And someone actually told us that they thought it was an ornate box turtle, and turns out it was. So there's a lot of different species of box turtles and turtles in general. So it's really hard to know specifically unless you're a professional or a vet or something like that. But this is our box turtle, and he gets his name because he has a hinge on his bottom part of the shell. So the top part of the shell is called the carapace, and the bottom part of the shell is called the plastron. And on that part is where he's got a hinge that closes up almost like a door to where he can actually pull his entire body into his shell if he wants to. I'm going to try to get him to demonstrate. He can pull his legs into his shell, and when he wants to, he can pull it up all the way so that this actually kind of closes up like a box. And that is one way that he protects himself from predators. His shell is also really, really hard and durable, so it protects him from, getting stepped on possibly. So he is a land turtle, which means that he does not swim. He doesn't go in the water. He will go in the water to soak, but he doesn't swim. He's got you see how his shell is really thick and domed, and he's not really made for swimming. He's made for living on land. And one of the ways you can tell that is because you look at his claws. You all should be able to see his claws. He's got really long claws. It's really cool. He uses those for a couple of things. One thing he uses them for is to help him dig. So one way that box turtles regulate their body temperature, because they are cold-blooded, is they will bury themselves to get either warmer or colder. So they'll bury themselves in the ground, in the dirt, not really deep, but just enough to, keep themselves warm. And that's what his claws help him with. His claws also help him with looking for and eating food. So this turtle is an omnivore, which means that he eats meat and vegetables. He eats anything. Some of his favorite things to eat are watermelon and tomatoes and worms and carrots. He loves carrots and blueberries, raspberries. He loves all kinds of fruit. So that's how he gets all of his vitamins and nutrients. And sometimes when the food is too big, he does need to use his claws to kind of help him tear it up a little bit. Now, since we have him and we give him the food, we cut it up pretty small, so he doesn't usually have to do that. But if he needed to, he could. So our box turtle, we've actually had him since 2008. So he's probably about 13 years old right now. And this is about as big as he's going to get. He will not grow anymore. And this is actually kind of small for a box turtle. Usually they're a little bit bigger than this, but this box turtle had what we call stunted growth, which means that he didn't grow as the way he was supposed to when he was young. So turtles, they usually do most of their growing in their first year of life. And when he was little, he didn't get enough food and nutrients that he needed to grow. So he wasn't able to get as big as he normally would have. So he's a little bit small, but he's still great. And he's healthy now. He gets all the food and nutrition that he needs. But he is a little bit smaller than maybe some other box turtles that you've seen. And you may be noticing that I'm calling it a he. And you may be wondering, how do I know that it's a boy? Because it can be really hard to tell with some animals if it's a male or a female. Well, with box turtles, you tell by the color of their eyes. So this turtle, let's see if he'll let you look. It's really hard to tell, but he actually has red eyes, and the female box turtles have orange eyes. And that is how one way to tell them apart. Now they can look really similar. Sometimes his eyes do look orange. We used to have a girl box turtle. Sometimes her eyes would look red, but if you see them next to each other, or if you really look closely, you can definitely tell his eyes definitely look red. The other way to tell if it's a male or female would have to be done by a vet who was able to do a, actual examination. There's no other really obvious way to tell if it's a male or female. If you have any questions, anybody has any questions about the box turtle, you can type them into the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Oh, I see someone has their hand raised.
Go ahead.
Is that Bria?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So can they go into their shell like other turtles?
Yeah, so this turtle, he can actually go all the way in his shell. So I'll try to kind of get him to demonstrate that. He's almost all the way in. But when he gets really scared, he does pull his legs in, and he'll even pull his tail in when he gets a little scared. But I don't like to poke him back there because that's where he goes to the bathroom as well. And I don't want to mess with him over there. But he does, yes, he can go all the way inside of his shell.
Okay.
Yep. And his backbone is connected to his shell, just like you maybe remembered from seeing that picture in the beginning. So he cannot leave his shell for any reason. And he can actually still feel things through his shell. Not the same way as you would if it was your, skin, but he can actually still feel this on his shell. And you can see that he has...
Scientists actually say it's like feeling your head. When somebody's touching your head, you can feel it, right? That's how he feels through his shell.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So normally this turtle in the winter time would be hibernating. He would bury himself in the soil somewhere, and he would just sleep until it was warm enough. But since we keep him inside in an enclosure, we keep it heated, he does not go into hibernation mode. But he's a really very interesting turtle. He actually can move pretty fast, contrary to what a lot of people think. And let's see, does anybody else have a question?
Well,
Jess, go ahead.
like, how hard is his shell?
Ooh, good question.
It's really hard. Like, I try and think it's probably similar to how hard your bones are, but it's very, it's thick and it's really protected to keep him from being able to, to protect him from the elements outside and to protect him from predators or from getting stepped on. I've even seen, unfortunately, turtles often get run over by cars. I've even seen some turtles, their shells don't even crack or break when that happens because that's how strong they are. So that's a good question. Yeah.
How old do box turtles get?
That's a good question. So box turtles, they can live pretty old. In captivity, which like as a pet, he could live to be maybe about 40 years old, maybe older than that even. Yep. So if you get one of these as a pet, it is a long time commitment. They live for a long time. And like we said, this one is probably about 13 years old. So he is still young. In the wild, though, they could still live as long, but they have a lot more predators to worry about than they do being kept inside. And also, if this one gets sick, we can take him to the vet. Whereas if an animal outside, a wild animal got sick, they have to kind of just hope that they get better. So those are good questions. All right.
Oh, we got another question?
When is his birthday?
When is his birthday? Oh gosh, I don't think we know.
We don't know that, yeah, because he came from somewhere else and they didn't know how old he was. So unfortunately, we don't know when his birthday is.
Yeah.
So every day is his birthday.
Every day. That's true. We just imagine that it is sometime in maybe 2008 or 2007. All right. Well, if you guys are ready to see the next animal, I can put him back and Stacy is going to bring out the next one. All right, say goodbye to this one. Say bye.
All right, guys. So we have another turtle for you guys. And this is a water turtle. And we do know kind of when his birthday is. This is our painted turtle. Say hi. Now, our painted turtle, we know how old he is because he came to us when he was only the size of a quarter. And they shed their first scoot, those scales on their shell, when they're a year old. And so we actually witnessed that. So we know he is 11 years old and he can go to about 30 years old. But there actually was a painted turtle that lived in captivity that lived to 50 years old. So he's got a long time coming. I call him a teenager right now. And he is a painted turtle, and they get that name because he actually looks like someone painted color all along his skin. He's got these beautiful yellow marks along his neck, and on his leg he has reddish orange, and on his shell he's got that black and orange. So the scientist who found him actually calls him a painted turtle, which I think is a really great name for him. Now, unlike the box turtle, we can't tell if he's a boy or a girl by looking at his eyes. His eyes, boy and girl eyes, are exactly the same on painted turtles, but we're pretty sure he's a boy because if you look, do you see how he's got really long nails on his front feet? Well, boy painted turtles actually grow longer nails than the girls do, and they use them to get a girlfriend. They actually will go up to a girl painted turtle and they'll use their nails and they'll tickle them in their face with their nails. And that says, I like you. And guess what? We have seen him in his aquarium. He sees his reflection and I think he thinks it's a girl and he actually tickles his reflection. So we're pretty sure he's a boy. Now, unlike the box turtle, he cannot go all the way in his shell. His defense, because he lives in the water, is he can swim really fast. And one of the ways he can do that is because on his feet, he actually has webbed feet. You see that skin between his toes? That actually makes it so he can paddle through that water really fast. He's an excellent swimmer. And he doesn't spend all of his time in the water. He'll come out and stuff, especially like to go on a log to sun himself. But he can hold his breath a lot longer than we can. They can hold their breath about 10 minutes, which is a lot longer than I can. And while under the water, they can look for things to eat. So they'll eat plants, they'll eat fish, small fish, not big ones. They can eat worms. And so anything they can find that's a plant or an animal, they'll try to eat. Now, the interesting thing though, with young painted turtles, they actually will only eat meat. So this guy, he will only eat meat. You try to give him a vegetable and he'll just push it with his nose and say, ew, get it away from me. So right now he's eating worms and crickets. Oh, look, he stretched for you. And, but he gets his vegetables, without him knowing, by feeding him pellets that taste like meat, but it actually has fruits and vegetables in it. So shh, don't tell him that. Now, when we say the turtles hibernate, so that means they sleep all winter long. They actually will go all the way under the water. The painted turtle will all the way under the water and dig a hole in the mud, and they'll sleep all winter long down there. Now, I said turtles breathe through lungs. They breathe air like we do. So how in the world can they go 3 to 4 months under the water without any of breathing through their lungs? Well, they actually do something really special. They can slow down their breathing and they can slow down their heart rate so they don't need as much oxygen. And then they actually have special skin near their tail where they can absorb oxygen from the water. And so that will actually keep them alive. So by the time spring comes around, they can come back and swim up and start all over again. It's really cool how they can do that. Did someone have a question? Ada, did you have a question?
What are lungs?
What are lungs?
No,
The lungs that we breathe at?
No.
Where are they?
Yeah, like on the.
Where are they? Yeah, they're actually right in the middle, kind of where our lungs would be, right between the shell, because the area that you need protected are your heart and your lungs and all those organs and stuff. So it's kind of right in the middle of their shell. That was a good question. Did anybody else have a question? Yeah, go ahead. Jess, do you have a question? No?
I was going to the.
Uh-oh. Oh, that's okay.
Can you refuse? Can you?
Maria, you don't have to tell them you're going to the bathroom. Just go.
I don't need to. Can you?
All right, we're gonna move on. So the painted turtle. Oh, the painted turtle just went to the bathroom.
My brother has a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
How old are they? He means how old?
Yeah, so this guy, how old? Yeah, so he is 11 years old.
How old?
And we know that. How old can he get? He can get to about 30 years old, but he could go older than that because the oldest painted turtle alive that people know about was 50 years old. So he can get pretty old, and especially how we take care of him, and he doesn't have any predators that would try to eat him around here. Now, some of the predators of painted turtles would be, if you've ever seen a great blue heron, those big birds that stand near the edge of the water and they have the really big bill, they could actually go after this turtle. But remember, his defense is to swim really fast away. And so the chances that a heron could get him are very unlikely. But there's also water snakes that might try to go after him. And so he has to always be aware, if he was living out in the wild, of those things that want to eat him. But yes, he's a good turtle, but he's still young. He's still learning things. And he's very confused while I'm talking to a screen. He's usually in front of people and gets to see people up close. So he does not understand what's going on right now. All right, any other questions for us about the painted turtle? Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
Well, where is his tank?
Where is
His tank is actually right behind me. I can see it, but unfortunately my hands are full, so I can't turn my computer. But when we are back open, you can come into the interpretive center and see all of these animals and where they live at, because he's got a pretty nice aquarium that he lives in that gets cleaned every week. Yeah, he's very spoiled.
Is yes. Yes.
All
Now,
right, any other questions before we move on to our last animal?
I was going to ask if the painted turtle will get
Oh.
any bigger.
Oh, excellent question. He only has a little bit more growing to do. Painted turtles in the wild don't get very big unless they're a girl. Girl turtles usually get bigger because they're the ones that have to grow the eggs inside of them. And so, but he, I would say, just has about an inch more to grow. So he's going to be about this size for the rest of his life. But yeah, good question. All right, I'm going to go pass it back to Jennifer.
Awesome, thank you. So yes, she was saying that the turtle is confused why we're holding it in front of the computer. In a normal year, we would be able to have this program in person and we'd be able to see everybody in person, and the turtles would actually, you'd get the chance to touch their shell and feel, what their shell feels like. But fortunately, we can't do that, but we can do the next best thing, which is to show you what they look like up close. So we have one more animal to show you all today. And if you remember from when we started talking about reptiles, we said at the beginning, the first slide, we showed 4 different animals. 3 of them were turtles and 1 of them was a snake. And for our last animal, you're going to get to meet the snake. So I'm going to get him out and get him ready to go. Takes just a minute.
Are they all your pets?
That is a great question. Actually, they are considered, we call them education animals. And so they are kind of employees of the Forest Preserve. So they teach just like we do. They just don't do any talking while they're teaching. And you might have noticed that we don't actually have names for our animals. And so we call them the painted turtle and the box turtle, and then the snake, but sometimes I do call him Snaky Poo because he's adorable.
So it's definitely difficult to hold the snake in front of the camera, but he cooperated pretty well last time. So I'm gonna try. So this is, yep, he's really active right now because he's been in his little box for a while, wondering what's going on probably. So this is a rat snake. He's a black rat snake. And you might be thinking that you've never seen a snake that's all white before. Well, he has a very special skin condition where he doesn't produce the pigment that makes your skin colored. So you know how animals and humans, we have the pigment called melanin in our skin that produces the color. So that's what makes our skin different colors. It's what makes our eyes and our hair different colors. Well, the rat snake, this guy, he doesn't have very much of that melanin. So he doesn't have very much skin pigment. So he's all white. Now, normally in the normal black rat snake would be completely black almost with a little bit of white spots. But this snake, you can see that he is all white. He does have some spotted scales that are colored. If you saw the top of his head, see that black spot on the top of his head? That is actually a scale that's colored, and he also has colored eyes. So you might have thought that maybe this snake was albino. There he goes. But he is sniffing. He's not albino, he's actually leucistic, and we know that he's not albino because he has those colored eyes. It's really probably hard for you guys to tell, but his eyes are almost like a bluish gray color. They're really pretty.
I think they're kind of white. I think they're kind of white.
The eyes look kind of white. Yeah, he does have a little bit of white to them as well. Like Stacy was saying, he has scales that cover his eyes, and he also doesn't blink his eyes or close them. So we don't really know when he's really sleeping. We just kind of have to guess. So you might have noticed that he's sticking his tongue out a lot. And you might be wondering why do snakes do that? They always stick their tongue out. And he's not actually making any sound when he does that. What he's doing is he's actually smelling. So reptiles, they all have a special sensory organ on their tongue called the Jacobson's organ. So it helps them to smell and sense their surroundings. So when he's sticking his tongue out like this, he's actually grabbing scent particles in the air, pulling them into his mouth and tasting them. And that helps him understand what environment he's in. So he will usually, if he's been out for a while, stop putting his tongue out so much because he kind of gets used to the environment. But since he just got out, he's really sticking that tongue out, trying to get a sense for where he's at and what he's doing and everything. And you can see it is pink. He's got a pink tongue and it's kind of tickly. Honestly, it doesn't really feel wet, but it kind of tickles when you feel it. So yes, so he has a tongue. And this black rat snake eats only one thing. And if you could guess by his name, he eats rats. So we actually feed him mice. And the mice that we feed him are not alive. They have been frozen. And he eats one mouse per week. And he swallows it whole and then digests it. And usually maybe about a week later, maybe less, he goes to the bathroom. And you can see he's got a colored scale right here too. And you might have also noticed that I'm calling the snake a he as well, which for snakes, especially for a snake like this that's all white, there's no way to tell if it's a boy or a girl just by looking at it. So he was determined that it was a boy by a vet. That was not something that we would be able to tell without having special tools or special ways to look at him. So our snake, I want you guys to try to guess how long he is. Write it in the chat if you want to. How many feet long do you think our snake is? Aiden's got his hand up. What do you think?
4 inches. 4 inches.
4 inches.
4 inches. Okay.
Okay. Jess has her hand up too. You can also write it in the chat if you want to.
Write down your guess.
Jess, what do you think?
12.
12 feet, 12
Feet.
inches.
12 feet.
12 feet,
12
okay.
We have one in the chat saying 5 feet.
Ah, okay. Awesome. So our snake is actually 6 feet long. So that was a really good guess, whoever said 5. And he's actually really hard to measure. So he's very wiggly and strong, and he doesn't really know how to cooperate or stay still. So how we've actually measured him is when he sheds. So reptiles, snakes, they shed their skin. They shed their skin every once in a while when they're growing. And when they're younger and growing a lot, they shed more often. But when he sheds, if it comes out in one piece, we're able to measure the skin. And that's how we know how long he is, because he's usually always really curled up and not exactly in the most friendly position for measuring.
How does he eat mice?
How does he eat? So he swallows them whole, actually. So he does have, his mouth is able to open up really big, and he just kind of swallows it completely whole. And then you can see that he'll have a lump in his belly as it's digesting and going through his digestive system. He just eats the whole thing.
And Jennifer, how would he catch the mouse out in the wild?
Oh, how
Are
would
they
he?
venomous?
Yeah, it's a good question. So this is snake. He is not venomous, which means that he does not have any poison or toxin or anything in him that would be harmful to people or animals. So the way that he catches his predators is by constricting them. So he's a constrictor. So you can see that he's wrapped around my hand. Usually he wraps around pretty tightly, and he's actually very strong. So to catch his prey, he actually would try to squeeze it.
Yeah, on the movie Angry Birds 2, there's a cobra constrictor.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
smart.
Yeah, I already knew what they do.
Oh, good.
Excellent.
Awesome. Yeah. So, and there are no actually here in, I see Bria's got her hand up. So we'll get to you in 1 second, but there are no venomous snakes here in Illinois. We don't have to worry about venomous snakes now. He does have teeth. He can, bite still, but you wouldn't have to worry about any kind of poison or anything like that. And this snake,
Jennifer, I wanted to correct you on that point. There are no venomous snakes in Champaign County. There are 4 in Illinois, but nowhere near here. Yes.
That's right. You're right. Yep. All right, Bria, what was your question?
Oh, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Am I unmuted?
Oh, there you go.
Yep, we can hear you.
So, do snakes how do snakes lay their eggs?
Oh,
Excellent question.
that's a good question. Yeah. So maybe you remember seeing the picture from the beginning. Snakes usually lay their eggs right on the ground. They don't have a way to dig a hole or anything like that because I don't see any arms or anything around here on this snake. And he doesn't really dig with his face. So they just lay their eggs right on the ground. And it's just like with turtles, the female snake is the one who carries the eggs, and she will lay them anywhere in the mud, usually in the warmer months. And I don't know how
Now,
long.
Jennifer, I am pretty sure she also meant where do they come out of, which we get this question all the time. They go to the bathroom and they lay their eggs out of the same exact spot, and you can't really see it on the snake. They have what's called a vent, and it's like a hidden spot on the back of their body, and that's actually where they go to the bathroom and they would lay their eggs. It all comes out of the same area, which is kind of gross.
Yeah, that's true. So it's not very obvious, but it is there.
I think Jess has a question.
My brother has a question too, but after Jess.
Okay, let's go with Jess first, and then we'll come to your brother, okay? Go ahead, Jess.
How do you carry the? How does he carry the egg? How does the girl carry the eggs?
That's a really good question. They have extra space in their body that is where the eggs would go. So that's why turtles and the snakes, both of the girls of them are bigger than the boys, because they have to have this big empty space available for them to hold the eggs in. And it's closer to their tail.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Aiden, do your brother have a question?
How do the snakes lay their eggs on the ground?
Well, they're already on the ground.
That's kind of different question.
Okay.
How do snakes grow?
How do they grow? So snakes grow kind of just like everything else does. They do have a backbone, so they have a long spine with ribs coming all through it. And so their bones grow just a little bit at a time, and their skin stretches to fit that, just like people and like other animals. And as they grow out of their skin. It becomes too tight, and so they shed it, and it comes off. And he is actually, we've had, this snake is probably about 10 or 12 years old, and he's actually been growing like the whole time we've had him. He was only a foot long when we got him, and he has still been getting bigger, but he probably won't get that much bigger than 6 feet. He might get fatter, like thicker around, but he won't get, he might not get much longer. Good question. He's very active right now. He's probably trying to find a warm spot, because usually when we take him out, he likes to go towards our neck or our armpits because it's really warm there. Yeah. Does anybody else have any?
Jennifer,
How do they
I have a question for you. Oh, I'm going to jump in real quick. I really want to know, what defenses does he have? If he was out in the wild, what would he use to defend himself?
That's a good question. So snakes, we know that some snakes are venomous, right? And that's their defense, is they will bite and inject with venom. Well, this one doesn't do that, but he has some other defense mechanisms. So I'm sure everyone has heard of a rattlesnake. And those rattlesnakes, yeah, they get their name because they rattle their tails. And when they shake their tails against the leaves or the ground, it makes a sound, and it sounds like a rattle. And usually venomous snakes do that. Well, he copies that, even though he's not venomous. And he will rattle his tail against the ground to scare predators, because that makes predators think, oh, he's venomous, he's gonna bite me, I better leave this guy alone. So that's one of the ways that he has defense. And he actually does that sometimes to us if we scare him, if he's sleeping or if we come up to him and he's not expecting it. He rattles his tail a little bit just to let us know that he's not happy with whatever we're doing. And he has one other defense mechanism too. So snakes,
does it sound like this?
it does, yeah.
It does, yeah.
It's actually really good. It's like a vibration, it sounds like. And his other defense mechanism is that he is able to produce a liquid called musk. And what he does is it smells really, really bad. And if he wants a predator to leave him alone, he will secrete that liquid out of the same place where everything else comes out of. And it smells very bad. And that also deters a predator from wanting to eat him. Now, I want to know if you guys know what animal you think would like to eat this snake. What predators do you think this snake has? Jess has her hand up. Go ahead.
Like maybe lions.
Lions, yeah. I guess let me change my question a little bit. What about here in Illinois? Here in Illinois, we don't have lions, but what animal might be interested in eating this snake?
A tiger.
A tiger. Bria's got her hand up. Go ahead.
A coyote.
A coyote.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
We do have coyotes here. Those would probably love to eat a snake. And a lot of animals actually go after the eggs of a reptile too, because their eggs are soft and leathery. Yeah. Did somebody have a question, or I thought I saw someone hand up? No. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions about our snake friend? He's actually pretty heavy, so he's just wrapped around my arm right now, and it's pretty heavy to try to hold him up. Aiden has his hand up. Okay, go ahead.
Why do they have like bumpy things on the skin?
Oh, the scales, yeah. So their scales actually serve a really important purpose. Now, one of the first slides we showed was that their scales look different on the top and on the bottom, which you can kind of see. This is his belly, so the bottom part of him, and those scales are more straight. And then the scales on the top of him are like that diamond shaped pointed, and those are there for protection, but they also help him grip things as he's climbing. So this snake in
Are
the
they like,
wild would climb a lot. So he would climb trees, he would use his scales to help him hold on to those things and also to protect his skin from getting hurt from those things.
does the top skin feel smoother than the bottom?
Actually, the bottom feels more smooth, which makes sense because that's the part that he's slithering on all the time. So it needs to be more, smoother so that he can move more easily. Now, if I were to let this snake down on the ground, he would move away faster than I could get out of my chair.
Jennifer, we have a question in the chat.
Okay.
Has the snake always been easy to handle?
Has the snake always been easy to handle? So I don't know how he was when we first got him, if he was easy to handle or not. But I think when we
I can
got him,
actually answer that.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I think that's what they were asking, is when we got him, was he easy to handle?
Yeah,
and unfortunately he wasn't. He actually wasn't held a lot, so he was really nervous. So it took a lot of time of one-on-one with him. He actually would try to strike at people because he was really scared that we were going to hurt him. And that has not happened in more than 6 years since we got him. So he loves us, and he knows that we are the warm ones that carry him around and show him cool stuff. And so after that first year, he became very docile.
How do snakes push themselves forward?
Oh yeah,
they have the most amazing muscles.
It's crazy.
It's all in their muscles.
It is. They're basically just all muscle. And because he is able to, wiggle so much and twist, he's able to grip, and his scales help with that. So they're actually very strong to be able to climb up a tree without having anything else to hold on to other than using their body as muscle. Good question. Awesome. All right. Oh, is he going to grow?
Yep.
He might get a little bit longer. He's about 6 feet right now, and he is still growing. Every time we've measured him or weighed him, it's always a little bit more than the last time. So since he is 10 or 12 years old, and he could probably live to be about 20 or maybe more, he could get a little bit longer. Yep. He will definitely probably get fatter, so he'll get wider around, which he has grown a lot since we've had him. He's very impatient today.
Yeah, it sounds like he's ready to go back.
He is. All right. We can still answer questions, but I'm going to put the snake back in his little bag to get him ready to put away. And we can still answer questions if you have them.
Yeah, so if you have any questions, still go ahead. Jess, what's your question? Did you have your hand raised?
Go ahead.
So, like, is the snake kept in a little, like, tank or a bag?
He goes from the bag. Yeah, he goes from that bag to his tank, and he's got a really big tank that he lives in because Jennifer said he likes to climb, so he has got a lot of climbing things in his enclosure. So it's a lot bigger than just a bag. That's just how he moves around.
Travel.
So how come sometimes he's in the bag?
Well, we put him in the bag to keep him safe when we're moving him around. So because these animals, they travel all over the place to do programs. So they'll go to schools and things like that. And you don't want a snake just crawling around your car. So we actually put him in a bag to keep him calm. And the bag actually is inside of a box.
Yep. He's in a bag in a box. And normally when he's in his enclosure, he is scrunched up really tight around. He has a box with moss in it that he likes to sleep in. So he likes being really compacted. And so we think that the pillowcase, that's what it is. It's a pillowcase. Helps keep him nice and calm and keeps him comfortable. Yeah. Really great questions though, guys. Awesome. All right. Well, we do still have a few minutes. So if you have more questions, you can keep typing them into the chat or raising your hand and we'll take them. But I do have some things to wrap up before we end the program. Now, a couple of things to know about what can you do if you want to help animals like this. There's a lot actually that you can do. So we talked about earlier how a lot of times, unfortunately, we see turtles in the road. If you see one and if it's safe for you to do so, you can just pick it up and move it to whichever side of the road it looked like it was going, but only if you think that it's safe to do that. You can also become an animal advocate, which is a program that we have here where you can sponsor our animals. And basically you get to be like a voice for these animals and educate other people about them. So you can tell other people what you know about these animals to help them understand them better and appreciate them better. And if you find an injured animal, you can take it to a wildlife rehabilitator, which might be a vet or some other place near you where they're able to help injured wildlife. Yeah. So you can see that we have a lot of more resources. We have lots of videos about our animals on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook page. And we're always posting pictures about what they're doing and what they've been up to since we haven't been able to do programs with them. So definitely check out our YouTube channel and our social media if you can. And we'll be offering more programs like this soon.
Why are all different different snakes have colors?
Different snakes have different colors? Yeah, so it depends on the species. So it really is just every species of snake can be different colors. And this snake normally, there's other rat snakes that are different colors. The black rat snake is black. There's also a Texas rat snake that is a different color. Around here, we have like, oh, was there a question?
What did you say, Aiden?
Rattlesnakes? Yeah, rattlesnakes can be different colors as well. We don't have those here, but yep. And some snakes actually have bright colors on them to show that they're venomous, right? I saw that, was it Bria or Jess? Someone had their hand up for a question. Oh. Let's see. Okay, well, I see Aiden.
Aiden's got his hand up.
Okay, Aiden.
Red, yellow, black, and orange means venomous. But
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
Like monarch butterflies, they're not venomous even though they have black and orange on them.
That's true. Yeah, they have. Oh, we have another participant.
There's a cat.
Yeah. Aw. Yeah.
Well, guys, I want to thank you guys so much. I am very impressed by all the questions you guys have asked. And the painted turtle is now anxiously asking me to put him back in his enclosure. So I want to wish you guys a really good night, and I hope to see you guys in person in the future.
Yes, definitely. If you haven't visited here before, the Interpretive Center, we're currently closed right now because of COVID, but we will hopefully be able to reopen soon. And you can come and visit these animals when we're open. If not, check us out on our social media. And thank you everybody for coming.